When you get mad and angry, maybe you can't even fight. Well, you don't have to fight. All you got to do is pull out your gun. It's over.
And it's not like in the movies where they're shot and they fall down and they're like dead in like 2 minutes. Someone gets shot in the abdomen and, they can be in a lot of pain. And if they're not treated, it could take them several days to die.
Hi, this is my son, Norman Lodge, that was murdered February 17, 2012, by a handgun. He was my best friend.
The bullet comes in sort of, nice and circular like this. But as it hits the body, it smashes up and sort of becomes very sharp. The bullet can also fragment and go in different directions. So you might have a small little puncture hole, but inside there could be a disaster going on.
Well, my life has changed drastically, since me being shot. Nothing is the same.
My name is Elaine Lane. My son was taken away because of this proliferation of guns in our community. David was 17 when he was killed, and I just think that the world stopped. As soon as I heard it, I just went blank.
I was crying, my stomach was hurting, my eyes was like swollen where I couldn't see. The pain is undescribable. It's the most worst pain you can ever feel in your whole entire life. And not a day go by that you don't think about what took place on that day.
It just felt like a feeling of electricity took over my body. That's the last feeling I felt. So being in this wheelchair is not easy. I was miserable, because of my situation. You take a person that, was strong and then you break them down to nothing.
It breaks your heart because guns seem to be an alternative to talking. Before it used to be who could fight the best. Now it seems to be who has the biggest gun, who's willing to use it.
The challenge is we're looking at the gun, right? And we focus so much on the gun, but we're not focusing on the part where the person feels they need to use that gun to take a life.
And guns are cool. All the rappers are rapping about it, and there's a guy picking on me in school. So now let me take the gun and I'm going to show it off, and if the guy picks with me today, I'm going to shoot him.
Most of the times when they use them, it's not really a good reason to use them. It's usually over Facebook or a girl.
My friends, I live downtown, are completely oblivious to the fact that there were people getting shot, across the river, like almost on a daily basis. I think about those people, and then I think about the circumstances in which they were in, and then I just think, like, man, that's fucked up. Like, you get shot because you're stealing a pair of Air Jordans, and now you're dead, and you're like 16.
A gun in the hands of a person is a quick way of taking a life. That's the bottom line. You don't have to be close to the person. You don't have to be right there in front of the person, looking at the person. The person can be a distance away, and you're guaranteed that bullet is going to create some kind of impact on that person. And they feel like, oh my God, yes, I have the power over life and death.
It's devastating, the impact that the guns are having, specifically in my community, especially with the age that the firearms are being used on, and the people that are using the firearms.
I probably was 12 or 13 when we first got our gun. We had a 22 that me and a friend shared going to school, and then God bless the dead, the night we lost our friend Dorian, it was a shotgun that we shared amongst all of us.
We have some areas, even in our precinct, where there's like a firearm for that block, that anyone that has an issue could use that firearm.
It's so simple now that they're trading sneakers for guns. Like, Jordans are a big thing. If I got a pair of Jordans brand new, I could take that to I'll trade you these sneakers for the gun. It's that easy.
And that's the problem, the guns and the bullets. How are these guns getting on the street in these criminal hands?
Every single day, 92 Americans are shot and killed by guns. And and 8 of those are children. Now, one of the problems New York has is we have guns flowing into our communities because it's far easier to get guns in states like Pennsylvania or Virginia, Georgia, any of the southern states. In fact, there's something called the Iron Pipeline. So people will traffic guns in from southern states where they're very cheap, and they bring them in trunks of cars on the Chinatown bus, and they drop them. They sell them in communities like Crown Heights, East New York, the Bronx.
9 times out of 10, they come from other states. Gun laws are a lot stricter and a lot looser in certain states, depending on where you are.
There's so many, more guns that if we had the capabilities of taking a big magnet and turning it on in New York City, I feel like you'd be surprised the firearms that you're around.
Some people have their political opinions that guns are bad, and by getting rid of guns, we're going to get rid of crime. But that doesn't really work because bad guys don't follow the law.
I'm a responsible gun owner. And like I said, the majority of people who own guns, I think, are responsible gun owners. The vast majority of gun violence is due to illegally procured guns and are in the hands of people who, are not upstanding citizens.
So by enacting laws, you're not reducing crime. You're just preventing good people from getting the ability to defend themselves.
Those of us who legally own guns, we're responsible. I have a safe in my house. We learn respect, and we know what a firearm is capable of doing.
With gun ownership, I think there should be reasonable expectation that one shouldn't be knowledgeable in the aspect of their firearm.
Guns are important to me because, for me personally, I hunt, so I need them for what I do. It's a tool for me. It's like a mechanic having a wrench.
What is not to like about shooting? Shooting is very relaxing. It's a self-improvement sport.
I always say I'm not for guns, but I'm for the Constitution. But right now the Constitution says what it says. So, if I have a right to own a gun, I'm going to own a gun. My experiences in treating people with gunshot wounds in the ER haven't really impacted my view on guns.
I've seen friends shot. I've lost a friend to gun violence, but that won't stop me from using my firearms and purchasing more.
One of the biggest challenges that we see with the gun violence issues is that we focus so much on the life that's lost that we forget about the people who are left behind.
You take pain and you move along with it.
I've got 2 choices. One is to let it burn within inside me and just take me away, or to expend it and try to be of some help to somebody else.
People don't understand that after a gun violence, there is a major trauma that's left on multiple people. So you have the children, you have the families, you have the extended families, and you have the community.
I run a family support group at Lincoln Hospital. That's where my son passed away. I would never, ever imagine in 1,000 years that I will be going back doing that type of services.
So when we come into the schools and we tell them all the horrific stories that come with the streets, and we ask the question like, how many of y'all want to be drug dealers? How many of y'all want to run the streets? And one kid actually was brave enough to stand up and say, I want to be a drug dealer, that's what I'm going to do. Now I use my wheelchair as how I like to say, a scare tactic. So he sat down, we went through our workshop, we told him our stories. At the end of our workshop, because we engaged the kids, and the kids stood up and said, no, I don't want to be in a wheelchair.
This stuff is real. It's not just on TV. It's not just like Chicago Med or whatever. This is real world stuff, and it happens in the United States, in the heart of the biggest city in the United States.
I know what to do to try to save their lives. I know how to stop the bleeding. But my whole thing is, how could I give them an alternative to shooting each other?
I think that we should continue to build our relationship with the community, because 9 times out of 10, they see the gun before we see it, but they don't say anything, and then the incident occurs, and then we're chasing it backwards, and we miss a lot of things, but the community could close the gaps, bridge the gaps between what happened, and they could prevent things from happening.
When you working on somebody, you don't know the circumstances of what happened. They had a gang fight, and the guy was shot. They wanted to kill him. And when we get him in the ambulance, people have said, is he going to be all right? And I said, yes. And they pulled out a gun and shot him again.
We don't know who we have lost, and we don't know the gifts that are thrown away as a result of gun violence. Did we lose the person who can cure cancer? Did we lose the person who could figure out how we could all, this entire world, can live in peace?
It doesn't matter the color of your skin, your culture, or where you from, unless you are from the sea. You are human. That means we are all family.
Gun violence is our death, because it never stops at that one bullet. It never stops at that one death. It continues. It continues with me even to this day.